So, lads, this is not a great look for the Indiana Fever organization.
What if the league's biggest rookie isn't just healing from a groin injury? What if the real story is why the timeline keeps stretching while the explanations keep shifting? Caitlin Clark hasn't played in weeks, and officially, there's still no return date. Unofficially, one window keeps getting whispered, late August. In the meantime, she's traveling with the team, smiling courtside, and even popping up in a viral soccer ball clip. The Fever say it's caution. Fans say it's something else. And with every vague update and every new headline, the mystery only grows. Here's what's locked in. Caitlin Clark hurt her right groin, and the Indiana Fever haven't posted a firm timetable. They keep using the phrase day to day, but the weeks keep ticking by. That gap between the label and the reality is where the rumors live. ESPN's Holly Rowe reported Clark saw a specialist. Nothing new showed up on the scans, and the Fever want to handle it differently this time. That means actual practice time, actual conditioning, and then game minutes. Somewhere in that plan, late August started floating around as the target window. It's practical, but for fans who've been counting the days without her, it feels more like a moving finish line. Then came the 12 seconds that blew the conversation wide open. A short video hit social media, showing Clark casually juggling and then booting a soccer ball, right foot and all. It wasn't a rehab session. It wasn't archival footage. It was now, while she's supposed to be nursing that groin strain. For some, that kick looked like proof. If she can swing her leg like that, why can't she run the floor? Trainers will tell you there's a difference between a controlled kick and the explosive stop and start movements in a WNBA game. But the internet doesn't work in slow motion. The clip spread fast, the comments got sharper, and suddenly the debate wasn't just about when she'd return. It was about whether the injury was even holding her back at all. From the team's side, the message is simple. They don't want a repeat of earlier in the season. Back then, Clark came off an injury with barely any practice time, no real conditioning ramp-up, and was thrown straight into games. The Fever insist they're not making that mistake twice. Holly Rowe reported that after Clark's specialist visit showed no new damage, the plan became clear. Ease her back through practice, get her rhythm with teammates, then return her to game speed. That's why the late August window makes sense for them. It's when the schedule actually gives them a few extra practice days. For fans, caution sounds like delay. For the Fever, it's insurance against another setback. Then came the matchup that turned a quiet injury story into a full-on drama. Dewana Bonner, who had a short and rocky stint with the Fever earlier this season, was waived in late June and quickly re-signed with the Phoenix Mercury. Her return to Indianapolis wasn't subtle. She got booed. The tension was obvious, and the game already carried history. For many fans, this was the one they had circled on the calendar, the perfect stage for Clark's return. Instead, she stayed in street clothes on the sideline while her team dropped 107 points without her. Some saw it as a smart move to avoid the emotional crossfire. Others saw it as dodging a headline-making showdown. Either way, it added another layer of what's really going on here to the story. The Fever's recent form has only made the conversation stranger. They've strung together wins, found their offensive groove, and watched Ari McDonald step up as a relentless spark plug. Without Clark, they're holding their own, and that changes everything. Success buys patience, and patience can easily look like stalling. For the team, every win is another reason not to rush their star back. For fans, it's ammunition for the theory that this absence isn't just about recovery. When the scoreboard looks good without her, it's easy to wonder if keeping Clark on the bench is about more than just protecting her leg. If there's one thing fueling the fire more than the injury itself, it's the way the Fever are talking about it, or not talking about it. Head coach Stephanie White has leaned on phrases like keeping things inside and blocking out the noise. Coaches use lines like that all the time, but when the updates stay vague, protecting her better, finding the right rhythm, day to day, it leaves a vacuum. And in sports, a vacuum never stays empty. Fans fill it with their own conclusions, whether they're true or not. Every cryptic presser, every sidestep answer makes it feel less like transparency and more like damage control. The result? The injury isn't just a physical mystery. It's becoming a communication crisis. Theories are everywhere right now, but the facts are still limited. Confirmed. Clark's scan showed no new structural damage, and the Fever planned to take a slower, more deliberate approach to her return. Unconfirmed. Whispers of friction between Clark and team staff, talk of locker room tension, or claims that politics, not health, are keeping her sidelined. Those ideas are coming from social chatter and opinion pieces, not official statements. Could there be tension? Possibly. Every pro locker room has some. Is it the reason she's not suiting up? There's zero proof. Right now, all anyone outside the team really knows is that the clock is ticking, the updates are vague, and the gap between what's said and what's seen keeps the rumor mill spinning. And that's where we are, caught between a franchise saying it's protecting its star and a fan base that's losing patience with half answers. Maybe late August really is the smart, safe target. Maybe it's just a moving goalpost. The Fever are winning, Clark is courtside, and the questions keep getting louder. In the end, the truth is probably less dramatic than the theories. A muscle strain that needs time and reps. But in a season this loud, boring explanations don't trend. Mystery does. So until the day-to-day finally becomes available, fans will keep watching every clip, every presser, and every stray comment for clues. Because when the league's biggest name is missing from the floor, silence isn't just noticed, it's the loudest sound in the room. When most players are sidelined with an injury, the public rarely sees them outside of a rehab session or a few quiet appearances at home games. But Caitlin Clark? She's on the road, sitting courtside, smiling for cameras, high-fiving teammates during warm-ups. It's the kind of visibility that, on one hand, reassures fans she's still connected to the team. On the other hand, it sends a mixed message. If she's too hurt to run a play, why is she jetting across the country for every game? Critics argue that constant travel isn't exactly restful for a groin injury, especially when it involves cross-country flights and hotel beds. And then there's the more suspicious angle. Some fans believe her presence is less about team chemistry and more about narrative control. When your most marketable player is physically present but unable to play, it allows the organization to carefully manage what she says, how she appears, and when the public hears from her. For the Fever, that might be strategic. For fans, it's just another detail that doesn't add up. Caitlin Clark's impact isn't limited to the scoreboard. Her market value is enormous. She's the face of multiple endorsement deals. Her jersey sales shattered records, and TV ratings spiked whenever she plays. That's a lot of commercial pressure for a rookie, and it means there's more at stake than just the next game. The team wants her healthy, sponsors want her visible, and the league wants her story to stay positive. But what happens when those priorities collide? If she plays too soon and aggravates the injury, it's a nightmare scenario for all three. If she stays out too long, fans start doubting the honesty of the injury narrative, and the hype machine loses steam. The balancing act becomes even trickier when those business interests quietly influence decisions, something no team will admit, but everyone knows is possible. To the outside world, it's just load management or caution. Behind closed doors, it could be a tug-of-war between marketing timelines and medical timelines. Social media has turned every minor update into an instant headline. A single clip of Clark jogging, laughing with teammates, or even standing without a limp can flood timelines in seconds. And because the Fever's public statements remain short and cautious, those clips become the main source of evidence for thousands of amateur injury detectives online. One fan posts, "She's walking fine, must be cleared," and suddenly it's a viral thread. Another points out that she's sitting comfortably courtside, not icing her leg, and speculation spikes again. The team's problem is that the phrase day-to-day doesn't mean the same thing in the social media world as it does in the medical world. Online, day-to-day is a literal countdown, and every day she doesn't suit up feels like a delay. The Fever may be trying to win a basketball season, but online, they're losing a public narrative war one tweet at a time. Normally, when a star player is out, teammates are quick to speak up, telling reporters, "We've got her back," or "We can't wait to have her on the floor again." With Clark, that kind of public rallying cry has been noticeably quiet. Players stick to the generic, next game up responses, focusing on whoever's suiting up that night. That silence could mean nothing. Maybe they're just respecting privacy. Or it could hint at something deeper, like avoiding a subject that's politically tricky inside the locker room. If there's frustration about how the situation is being handled, it's not coming out in interviews. That in itself is unusual for a player as visible and important as Clark. Fans want to believe everyone's on the same page, but the absence of personal, vocal support only feeds the theory that there's more going on beneath the surface. The Phoenix Mercury game should have been one of the season's biggest storylines, a grudge match fueled by DeWanna Bonner's messy exit from the Fever earlier in the year. Fans imagined Clark going head-to-head with Phoenix's veterans, soaking in the intensity, maybe even making a statement win. Instead, she was in street clothes, watching as her team blew out the Mercury without her. On paper, it was a great night for the Fever. In reality, it left people wondering if this was all part of a plan to avoid a high-drama matchup. Facing Bonner and the Mercury could have drawn massive attention, including uncomfortable questions about past relationships within the team. Without Clark, those questions stayed quieter, but not silent. Some fans believe this was a deliberate decision to sidestep that circus. Others think the blowout win without her gave the Fever even more reason to delay her return. Either way, it added another layer of suspicion. What's happening with Clark isn't just a local Indianapolis story. It's being studied across the WNBA. Other teams with young stars are paying close attention, because how the Fever handled this could set a precedent. Go too cautious, and you risk accusations of holding a player hostage for strategic or business reasons. Push her back too fast, and you risk a serious re-injury that could derail her career. That's why coaches, executives, and even agents across the league are quietly watching. If the Fever's cautious approach ends with Clark returning at full strength, other teams may follow suit. But if it backfires, if the delay fuels distrust or leads to more public drama, it'll be a cautionary tale for years to come. In that sense, this isn't just about one player or one team. It's a test case for how the WNBA handles its biggest stars in the spotlight era. Coverage of Clark's absence has split into two camps. On one side, you have national outlets sticking to the official injury updates, avoiding speculation, and framing it as a standard recovery process. On the other side, you have local and independent voices dissecting every detail, body language in pressers, tone shifts in coach quotes, even the timing of her public appearances. The result is two very different realities playing out at once. In the first, it's business as usual. In the second, it's a high-stakes mystery filled with unspoken tension. Fans bounce between those realities daily, picking whichever one fits their mood. This mismatch doesn't just confuse the audience. It deepens the sense that something's being hidden, even if the truth is much more mundane. That third week of August, Target has become more than just a possible return date. It's a psychological milestone for fans. Every day closer brings fresh speculation. Is she practicing yet? Is she ramping up conditioning? Did anyone see her taking shots after practice? The unspoken deal here is simple. If she's back by then, the Fever can point to the timeline and say they stuck to the plan. If she's not, the pressure will explode. And even if she does return, her first game back will be picked apart for signs of whether the wait was worth it. Every made shot will be proof that she could have played sooner. Every missed shot will be evidence that she's still not right. The August countdown isn't just about a date. It's about whether the Fever's version of events will finally match what fans see with their own eyes. Injury updates are one thing, practice footage is another. And lately, that's where the real mystery is. Fans who attend open practice sessions say they've seen Clark moving freely, smiling, and even taking casual shots. Yet no official word has been given that she's cleared for full contact drills. That gap between what's visible and what's stated is the perfect breeding ground for speculation. Is she being held back to follow a strict medical protocol? Or is the team deliberately avoiding practice videos that could spark questions about why she's still sitting on game nights? The Fever have the power to release clips that would quiet rumors instantly, but they haven't. And that silence, for some, speaks louder than any press conference. Clark isn't built to sit and watch. Anyone who's followed her college career knows she thrives on competition, and she's been vocal in the past about wanting to play through pain. That's why seeing her willingly sidelined is so jarring to her fans. The theory that she's simply being patient, doesn't match the personality they know. And if this is truly the Fever's decision, not hers, it could be eating away at her behind the scenes. The longer she sits, the more questions will surface about how much say she really has in her own career. Because when a player's competitive fire collides with a team's cautious plan, sparks usually fly, whether we see them publicly or not. Let's be real. The WNBA has never had a rookie draw numbers like Caitlin Clark. Her games smash viewership records, pack arenas, and dominate highlight reels. When she's off the floor, interest dips. That's a problem for networks and sponsors, and a reason some believe the league is just as invested in her return as the Fever are. Here's where it gets tricky. A high-profile return game could be marketed as a must-watch event, driving massive ratings. Some fans wonder if that's why the timeline is so vague, so the league and team can control the build-up and cash in on the moment. Whether that's true or not, the business side of basketball is always lurking in the background, and in Clark's case, it's impossible to ignore. What makes this situation so explosive isn't just the injury. It's the collision of timing, optics, and communication. You've got a star with a fiercely competitive image, a team that's winning without her, a fan base that's hyper-connected online, and a schedule that just so happens to include emotionally charged matchups she's missing. On their own, any one of these factors could be harmless. Together, they create a perfect storm where every decision looks calculated and every silence looks suspicious. Whether it's a carefully managed recovery or a deeper internal conflict, the Fever are now playing two games at once, one on the court and one in the court of public opinion.